1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sure, that's one way to count. But how about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If we had counted in segments of our fingers rather than on our fingers, would we have had a 12-base numeric system with all the advantages that offers? Welcome to another episode of Just in Time Worlds with your host, Marie Mullaney. Today I'm going to discuss numbers in culture, their significance, their importance, and how to design them for your fantasy world. If you're interested in this kind of content, do hit the subscribe button down below, and if you want to join my community of world builders, links to my Discord in the description. Okay, let's get cracking. There are certain numbers that have significance across cultures. The number 3 is like that. 3 is universally in the human experience an important number. This is probably because 3 is 1, 2, 3. It's also a prime number. And so prime numbers have always had a certain amount of significance for us. So 3 would probably be important to your culture as well if they only had 2 hands. If they had another set of hands, it might be that 5 would be the important number. 2 limbs and the centerpiece. But other than 3, many cultures have other numbers that are important. For example, in China, 8 is a lucky number because of the way that it's written, it looks like it's associated. In the West, 13 is considered an unlucky number because 12 has always been a number that we've used to count in because it is so divisible. It has many factors that divide into it. And 13, by its association as the next number, which is a prime number and not divisible, was probably an awkward number to do arithmetic in and therefore became an unlucky number. I would think that's probably where the 13 thing comes from. And then there is the way that we count. Now, we count in the decimal system, which has got 10 digits, 0 through 9, and all your numbers are derivative from there. Now, in part, that is because we have 10 fingers, but as I demonstrated at the start of this video, if you count on the segments of your finger, you can count to 12. And then we could have had a base 12 number where you would have 0, and then you wouldn't stop at 9, you would have a symbol for 10 and a symbol for 12. Now, this would actually be an advantage from an arithmetic perspective, not from a mathematics perspective. Mathematics and numbers don't actually have that much to do with each other. Mathematics is the expression of equations in symbols, but arithmetic, which is about adding and subtracting and especially dividing, would enormously benefit from a 12 base because you can divide it by more numbers. 1/3 of 12 is a very neat 0.4, whereas 1/3 of 10 is a very clumsy 0.3. So therefore, your 12 is a better numerical system. Why are we a decimal system? You can blame the French. The French pretty much drove the decimal system after the French Revolution. They wanted decimals everything. They even tried experimenting with a 10-day period of time rather than having a 7-day week. That didn't work out at all, but they did try it. They went decimal everything and eventually it just got adopted everywhere, probably because of Napoleon and the Napoleonic Wars and so on and the spread of the decimal system. But what about your world? Maybe your world counts up to 12. Now, of course, if you do that, you do have to introduce your readers to it quite early on, and you have to keep kind of emphasizing it, what these 2 extra digits are. But it would be a very interesting world to create where people count in 12 or with a base of 12. So think about how your world counts, not just what numbers are important to them. Then in terms of what numbers are important to them, besides the 3, the basic division units, as well as it being a prime number and so on, it's also worth thinking about celestial bodies. The number 28 is associated with a moon cycle around the Earth, and 28 divided by 4 gives us 7, and 7 is how many days we have in the week. Therefore, 7 has become an important number to us because of its association with 28. Interestingly, you can also count to 28 on your digits. 10 on your fingers, 10 on your toes gives you 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 for your feet. So it could be that 28 is also how much you can conveniently count on body parts as a number that got associated with the months, that got associated with the weeks, because of the celestial bodies and because of how many limbs and digits you can conveniently count on. So it's worth doing that kind of exercise when you are creating your world. If your planet has a moon, how long does it take to cycle through it? How long does your planet take to cycle around its sun? Because that will also affect what numbers are important to your people. If your seasons are roughly the same length as ours and your world has got roughly the same year as ours, it's likely that you will have the importance of the number 4 for the 4 seasons and the number 3 for how many months there are in a season. Now, what I did in my world as an example is I made the number 13 important because that's the number of weeks that there is in a given season, and my people's calendar works on the season and the year rather than having months. I just thought it would be interesting to do it that way, and dates don't come into play that often, so I figured that it wouldn't negatively impact my reader's experience. And here is where I do want to reiterate very clearly. If you do go as far as saying, I'm using a 12-based system in this world, you have to very often reiterate that to your readers or to your players, because it will be a confusing thing for them and they will need to snap back into it often. So you will need to have kind of reference to it. So just bear that in mind if you do go that far. So think about those things when you're designing your number system. What is your base? What are your celestial bodies? How many limbs, digits do your people have? And how does that influence the numbers that are important to them? And then make sure that whatever your critical number is, it's repeated often. Think about how often we have things that come in threes and apply the same thought process to your world. If your critical number is 5, you must have 5s everywhere. If it's 7, you must have 7 everywhere. Your most critical number probably is a prime, as it is in our world. And those are my thoughts on numbers and cultures. If you enjoyed this video, you will likely enjoy my video on gambling and board games in fantasy worlds. If you would like to support me in making more of these, links to my Ko-fi page and my book in the description. And I will see you soon for another video on Just in Time Worlds.